Our next guest has a Lakers championship ring. He gave the eulogy at Richard Pryors' funeral, and he's Arsenio Hall's friend. Big TV star George Lopez joining us. What's up, George? ¿Qué pasó, Papi Chulo?
That's all true, man. That's all true. Huge Laker fan during the Shaq times, of course, were amazing. I got to tell you a story. You know, the Lakers had won the championship, and I was on the freeway, and there was a black Suburban with a Superman trailer hitch on it, and I said, God, I wonder who that is. And I just heard that Shaquille was supposed to have foot surgery. As that SUV goes down off of cold water, the window rolls down, and with the fire extinguisher, they're shooting kids on the side of the road. Said, I don't think he's having toe surgery.
He likes having fun, that guy, and he's a barrel of laughs.
Yeah.
So are you more Dodgers or Lakers these days?
You know, everybody in LA is like, you going to the Lakers last game? I love LeBron. I was around. Listen, man, I was around when LeBron was a rookie. I was over at ABC, you know, and you know, they had the playoffs back then, and I love LeBron. You know, I think he's trying to hang on until his son plays. I mean, we're being held hostage. LeBron, I think it's time maybe to step aside and let us build a young team. You know, it's almost like, hey, you kids don't know what you're doing. Here, give me that hammer. You know, nothing's going to get built while the old man has the hammer. So I think that's a tough question, man, but I would say in difference to the great Laker teams, I would say I'm more Laker.
All right. Well, they're definitely going to probably rebuild. I know Jeannie doesn't like to sit around too long losing, so this is going to have a bad taste in their mouth after probably getting swept away from the Nuggets.
It's a fast league, man. You know, it's a fast league. Everybody's young. That's why, you know, I know these guys that play or used to try to play in Sunday leagues or in leagues that were actors that were in their 40s, and I'm like, you ready to pop your Achilles, man, or have your pelvis shattered? I said, it's time to sit down.
Yeah. Well, go Lakers. Maybe they'll pull out some kind of big upset. The Dodgers, though, have you been watching any games? I bet that Shohei Ohtani is going to have a great season.
Listen, gambler or not, that dude's amazing.
Have you seen him in person, pitching and hitting? And it's amazing what he does.
I haven't seen him yet, but I will definitely get a chance to go. You know, the baseball season is so long. I'm sure I'll see him at some point.
Well, I've seen your new show, Lopez versus Lopez. It airs Tuesday nights, and this Tuesday, it's the final 2 episodes of Season 2 of Lopez versus Lopez, back-to-back at 8/7 Central on NBC. It streams the next day on Peacock. The thing I love about this show, George, honest, is it's not your typical sitcom family, where it's normally the perfect family with a few little quirks, but this one, you know, you're talking divorce, you're talking alcoholism, interracial, more like today's family.
Yeah, you know what, man? It's very well said. Yeah, you know, Mine and I didn't talk in real life for a long time. You know, I never thought that I would go back to TV, which is really, really hard to do, and especially take, you know, Mayan with me. Mayan's been great these 2 seasons. You know, these 10 episodes, you know, last air on Tuesday, she's been fantastic. In interviews, she's charming, and, you know, it makes me really, really proud. And you know, we had our own issues. I think that's what this show is about. But in a way, you know, we're reconciling and showing people that, hey, man, that's all time you can't get back, you know. And I was the adult in this whole thing. And I grew up in a family where if you had a disagreement with somebody, you just removed them from your life. But this was like my kid. I didn't want to do that anymore. And I think it was the first time in my life that I ever had to really kind of accept the responsibility that I did hurt this family. And now I'm trying to, you know, save my child from it.
That's pretty big of you to say, George Lopez, our guest here. Make sure you check out the final 2 episodes of Season 2, Lopez versus Lopez, NBC, and then streaming the next day on Peacock. I saw in a recent episode you had the lovely Lisa Rinna on, plus Cheech and Chong. Oh. So you guys have been killing it with the guest stars.
Oh, man, the guest star, everybody wants to go on. You know, Gabriel Iglesias and I did the Golden Globe Awards. You know, we hadn't talked ever, I don't think, really talked in 25 years. And he was cool enough to do the show. And then, you know, Cheech and Chong I've known since the 80s. Those guys were amazing. And Lisa Rinna's she's a star, man. I mean, she's 62 years old. She looks amazing.
Smoke show, man. She's beautiful.
She you know, millions of people want to see. I mean, it's brilliant.
Your daughter said that this show, Lopez versus Lopez, pretty much based on the reality of your lives. And I saw in a recent episode that you took some edibles. So I'm wondering if this show is based on true events. Have you ever had one of those gummies or brownies, George?
I will tell you a story that I've never said publicly. I'm friends with Carlos Santana, and I was in San Jose, and a guy said, I know Carlos, man. And I said, yeah, what's up? And he handed me a foil thing in there with some hash. So I get back on a Monday. I don't have anything to do Monday. I said, damn, maybe I'll take a little bit of hash. I don't know how much hash. I haven't seen the hash conversion chart. I was high all of Monday, 24 hours, and into Tuesday about 5:30 a.m. I finally woke up in the same place, or snapped out of it that I was 22 hours earlier, watching Kiss videos and thinking to myself, I've been following these dudes around for 50 years. It never dawned on me.
Man, that California stuff's pretty strong out there. I know when I go to Cali, it's recreational now. You don't even have to have a medical card or anything.
How about you could just roll up in there and go, hey, man, can I get some weed? Yeah. You want to get back in line, though? Oh, all right.
Yeah. It's crazy how the world has changed. Another thing I love about the show, I think you have a star on your hands. That little Bryce Gonzalez, he plays your grandson. Man, that kid, he's a star.
You know, that kid knows how to wait for laughs. He nails his lines. I think when we started the show like 2.5 years ago, I'm not even sure if he could read. You know, he was like just turned 7, and he would memorize it and do it. And this last episode, him and Jaime Camille were like fighting over, you know, the love of Selena Slava, who plays Mayan's mom. And that kid, man, there's child actors like that guy Matt Shively was a child actor. Everybody that sees that kid is blown up. I mean, everybody. Lisa Rinna couldn't stop laughing. Every Cheech and Chong, they see this kid. This kid is like, has to be the best child actor ever. And if you haven't seen the show, just see it for this kid. He's unbelievable.
Hopefully, when he's a big star, he takes care of his Grandpa George, because you put him on, you know?
Absolutely. I look at Maya sometimes and I say, when he gets a big laugh, I said, that kid's going to buy my house in Tulum.
Yeah. Lopez versus Lopez. Only 2 episodes left of season 2. Yep. Laugh out loud funny. Make sure you watch it on NBC. I'm curious, how long ago did you have your transplant? My dad actually had a heart transplant 20 years ago and a kidney transplant 10 years ago. So he's double transplanted. He's like the bionic man. And you're looking good on TV. The hair's growing nice. How you feeling since the transplant?
You know what? It's been 19 years. God bless your father, man. That's unbelievable.
It's been that long. I didn't realize you're about as long as my old man since he's gotten his heart. And you got a kidney, right?
Yeah, just a kidney. And how does your dad? He's good with all the medicine and all the stuff he has to take and everything?
Well, he took the medicine, the anti-rejection drugs, for so long that it messed up his kidney. So then he had to have the kidney transplant. But he was just at the house here this past weekend, and he's 69 years old now, and so still alive and kicking. And it's amazing what they can do. Take an organ out of somebody else's body, and next thing you know, pop it in somebody else. It's truly a remarkable thing that happens.
Well, you know, the doctor that works on me is a scientist in that whole area of kidney transplants and stuff. They're growing kidneys in research. Also, they're making breakthroughs that they could do an organ transplant, no anti-rejection medicine, and that's coming in the future. Also, I probably won't be alive for this, and even he said, you probably won't be alive for this, but they're creating a chip. They're working on a technology that they would put in a person's body who doesn't have a liver or renal failure, and that chip would do the work of the kidney.
My dad also always used to say that he got a Latino heart because after he got the heart transplant, he was a much better salsa dancer. And for whatever reason, he loved the merengue. So,
you know, I think so. You know, my wife gave it to me. My ex-wife, you know, she's Cuban, and you know, we used to have that whole sound system that would go through the house, and she was playing some Cuban music, and I went up there and turned it up when usually I would turn it down.
Yeah, these transplants, please be an organ donor out there. It's real easy when you're getting your driver's license. Just tell them, you know, you're not going to do anything with them when you're gone, and you save lives, just like our guest here, George Lopez, whose new show, down to only 2 episodes, and it's on Tuesdays on NBC. I'd like to hear more about you speaking at Richard Pryors' funeral. This is a remarkable story. And I also heard, correct me if I'm wrong, you have ashes, his personal remains, in your house. Is that true?
I'm looking at them right now. So Richard Pryor was my man. You know, I was growing up. I used to work by him down there on Parthenia. He lived on Parthenia in Van Nuys. I used to drive by his house all the time. I just missed him a couple times at the Comedy Store. I saw him at the Comedy Store one time on the freeway. I saw him. That was like my guy, man. So when he got sick in the early '90s and satellite radio had just come out, I didn't even know him. I bought him a satellite radio and I sent it to his office, and they sent it to him. That was kind of my introduction to him. You know, met him there a little bit, got sick. You know, in 2005, I went to his house. He was really very sick then. And they had done a statue for him in Peoria where Peoria had kind of shunned him, you know, so the statue sat half done. And then maybe 10 years ago or 8 years ago, I arranged a tour, and we raised the money that completed that statue. And through it, you know, Jennifer Pryor had, you know, given me a couple of things that were Richard's. But the most, she said, I got to come over and give you something, you know, in person. And she gave me a little box. I opened it, it's a little piece of paper, and it said Richard Franklin Lennox Pryor had his date, and then just kind of these little kind of, you know, dates with a CC, you know, thing, and micro dose and stuff. And it was a bracelet. And she said, you know, a little part of Richard is in there for you. I mean, how much a fan you were of his. And when I wear it, I'm still as half-assed as I always was, but the idea that I get to have Richard Pryor in my house is amazing.
Well, we like to put things into basketball terms around here because of our big boss, Shaq. I'm curious what your dream team of comedians would be if I had to give you a starting five. I'm assuming you'd have Richard Pryor in there, maybe playing center, or he'd be the point guard, but who else would be a part of this dream team of comedians if George Lopez could be the Jerry Buss of comics?
I would say Lenny Bruce would be my coach. I said Freddie Prinze would be my point guard. Red Fox would be a guard. Let's see, Rodney Dangerfield would be a guard. I would have to need maybe I'd put Dick Gregory as my center, and then I might bring Bernie Mac and have him be the other point guard.
That'd be quite the squad, though. I don't know. It'd be hard getting a shot on that team because they'd all be shooting.
AI. I got to do some AI and bring that team to life.
Yeah. And tell me more about this Lakers championship ring. How did you end up with a championship ring? And does that sit next to Pryor's ashes? How do you decide what gets prominent spot on the mantle there?
Yeah. That's a good question. You know, I was doing a lot of shows with AEG there, and then, you know, my first show was on. I was always at the games. I always would take Mayan, you know, on Christmas Day, and, you know, Kobe and I were friends, and Shaq was always cool, you know. So in that time, and this is the crazy part. Nobody talks about this one. So they beat the Magic. They lost to the Celtics. Then they beat the Magic, and they had the one ring, and then they said, you know, the Lakers want to give you a ring. And I said, well, I don't want one from the Magic, you know, no offense. And they said, well, you know, I said, I'll wait. I said, maybe they'll play the Celtics next year, and if they beat the Celtics, that's the ring to get. And they said, well, you know, how do you know that's going to happen? And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll roll the dice. And I was at Game 7, an unbelievable night, maybe one of the best nights as a fan of the Lakers ever. And I got my Laker championship ring when they beat the Celtics, and that's the most valuable ring, I think, if you're a Laker fan.
Would you ever do late night TV again? Because I was a big fan of that TBS show you have. Maybe you and Arsenio could cook something up. What do you think?
Yeah, you know, I talked to Arsenio about that. I mean, I would. I mean, I think, you know, at NBC, I had to drive by Stage 1 where they used to do the Tonight Show there when Conan had it, and Jay Leno had it there, and then Kelly Clarkson was there, and then she moved to New York. So I have to drive by this building that's, you know, I know has a huge studio audience in there. You know, that's where they did these shows. And part of me has already gone to Peacock and a little bit to NBC about letting me do either a once a week or on the weekend type vibe. Because that show, you know, now, and I mean, everything in hindsight can be either better or worse, but that Lopez Tonight stands up. And I hear so much about it recently that if it was presented to me, I'd love to bring Arsenio with me and then have him do segments and me do segments and then bring a musical act on and even maybe rotate guys who were guest hosts or had their own show, rock, you know, and stuff like that. It'd be great.
Yeah, I hope you guys end up putting that together. I know you obviously do a lot of Latino comedy in your sets, and you talk about you know, being a Mexican. I'm curious how you feel about the border crisis. Do you think that it is a true crisis, or do you think this is just a media narrative to try to stir things up in politics?
No, I think it's a true crisis. I mean, one of the things that gets handed off over the last 50, 60 years has been immigration, But if there was a way, like my grandfather never became a citizen, but he had a green card. I think the green card thing has been eliminated because, it's been a big joke. Hey, can I see your green card? My grandfather worked in construction, but also he had his card. So he was documented as to who he was and why he was here. And if he worked, back then the work went to people who were citizens first. And if there, wasn't enough of them, then they start to hire the guys from that had green cards and stuff like that. So, there's a lot of jobs here that people here won't do for whatever reason, and people from other countries and countries all over the world, not just Mexico, but that there is a crisis there. But if we could somehow document and know who's working and eliminate the people that are criminals, as you would with a background check to buy a gun, then I think we could maybe get a better grip on what's going on over there. It's terrible.
And we know you're a big dog lover. How many dogs you got in the house at this point?
There's one that's 20 that won't die. That's a Chihuahua.
20? Wow.
She barks 20. And it's like she's barking. I said, you can't hear or see. Why are you barking? So there's two there. And then I got like a French pit bull mixed. I mean, they'll sleep with anybody. And then there's another Chihuahua. But I've probably given maybe 25 away. And I would always say to this girl that was working with animals, and especially now, the crisis in the shelters is really terrible. I said, if there's one that's going to get the needle, call me. And then I would have them here. And then, my dog groomers would see them and they'd say, oh, my God, this dog's so cute. And I would say, if he has a home, anybody could, I'd be willing to give him away. And I think I may rehomed or given dogs forever homes like 25 dogs.
Well, congratulations on the success of Lopez versus Lopez. So proud of your daughter, Mayan. She's killing it. And make sure you check that final 2 episodes of Season 2, Lopez versus Lopez, back-to-back at 8 and 8:30 on NBC and then streaming the next day on Peacock. Well, keep doing it the Lopez way, my man. And I appreciate your time, George, and best of luck.
Oh, it's awesome. Great conversation, man. Thanks for your time.